I call to order the September 2013 legislative session of the Meeting of Borough Council. I ask that we all rise and join in the pledge of allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we continue, we're a little bit off this evening. We had Halloween apparently arrived a bit early. And I neglected to ask us all to rise and for a moment of silence for the victims of the recent shooting at the Washington. Here we are. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for joining us this mid-September evening. I understand that there are events taking place in South Philadelphia this evening that might have captured the attention of some, but we will focus our attention on the matters at hand. First of all, I will announce that at our last workshop session, we had executive session to discuss a litigation matter. We have a couple of administrative items we have to work our way through. First is the approval of the minutes. We have two sets of minutes. One is for August 1, 2013 workshop meeting minutes, and the other is for minutes for the August 15, 2013 council meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the August 1, 2013 workshop meeting minutes?
So moved.
Mr. President.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the minutes? Not hearing any, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the workshop meeting minutes for August 2013, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes and the minutes are adopted. Do I hear a motion for approval of the August 15, 2013 council meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on those meeting minutes? I will call the question. All those in favor of approving the meeting minutes for council's August 2013 meeting, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Jeff, I did not vote because I was not present. As you know, I was out of town with my family. I don't know if it's appropriate for me to vote on meeting minutes when I am not there.
I'll officially defer to the solicitor, but I believe you are permitted to vote on minutes even if you were not present for the meeting.
That's correct, although I've seen the practice many places to be that people abstain if they weren't at the meeting. And if you've got a quorum that already voted to approve it, leave it that way.
I do have a question. One question about the accuracy of the meeting minutes. I was flabbergasted to see on the second to last page that Councilman Robinson is now a grandfather. And Paul, as much as you say that you're the old man here, you and your wife look far, far, far too young to be grandparents.
Thank you.
29 looks really good.
Did I read that right?
My wife was only 7 when we got married.
Well, congratulations to you and Chris. And is it your son or your daughter?
Daughter.
Congratulations. Very well. Boy or girl?
Boy. Logan Joseph.
Logan Joseph, welcome to the world. All right, so I will abstain on voting on the August council meeting minutes because I was not present. Since we have worked our way through that thicket, we are now into public comment and privilege of the floor. Is there anyone here present who wishes to address council at this time? If so, please come to the microphone, state your name and your address.
Okay. Hi, I'm Karen Rowinski. I live at 444 South Jackson Street. We were wondering, I say we because there are a group of neighbors at that end of the street who border Hootman Park, and we were wondering if there was any movement in that direction. Also, we're very concerned about the parking. We'd like to keep it at 2-hour parking because it gets very congested there and it becomes very dangerous for pedestrians because there's very little room for two-way traffic as it is on Lincoln. Is there any status update?
Well, I believe that Monica Simpson is probably the best person to answer that question. As to Lincoln Street, that's not within the borough.
Right, but
So-
the park is,
It's borough owned, but it's not within the borough.
right. But
Tough one to wrap your head around, but it's fair.
So, I mean, we are going to the Upper Providence meeting also, but who can we get answers from as far as start date, what's going
Well,
on?
we're in the phase 2, which is the execution of the master plan. And I believe, Jeff, is there another round of funding that we're waiting for? Or is it just the finalization of the plan?
Exactly. As far as funding goes, that's in place. It's just a matter of the next step is, as you had mentioned, the borough had been asked to present the plans to the Upper Providence Township Planning Commission and also the Township Council. So that'll happen on September 24th.
Correct.
And it's our understanding that the Township Council will act on the plan in October. Once that happens, Borough Council has seen some conceptual plans, so the next step would be, once it's approved by the township, the council would then look at it one final time. Then it has to go to the State Department of Community and Natural Resources for their approval, since they're paying for it. And then the process would start. We would go into competitive bidding for the work to be done. So the first step, I should say the first, but the next step is the meeting with the Upper Providence Township Planning Commission and Council, and then the process will get started. And it's basically, it's projected to be a 2-year project.
You mean from start date? 2
Yes,
years?
from start to, from now until the completion of all of the work
So
is
what is the
projected.
projected start date? Is there a ballpark?
I would say that during the winter time, putting together the bid specifications and then essentially going out to bid, a lot of it would depend on what type of winter we have. If there's a mild enough winter and the engineer's okay with some of the work that's being proposed, it could commence as early as this winter. If not, I would say hit the ground running in April of 2014 would probably be more likely, but who knows? Depends on how the winter looks.
Okay, now who do we approach about this parking?
Well, the council had looked at a parking concept, and correct me if I'm wrong, the council decided that the plans that are being presented to Upper Providence does not include a parking component associated with it. So there is no parking lot in this
No, we're just
set
talking
of
about
plans.
parking on Lincoln.
Oh, Upper Providence Township. The
so
borough does
24.
not maintain that roadway, so if there's any type of parking that you're, wanted to look at, I would suggest you contact the township and perhaps they can take a look at it and discuss what, what their thoughts are and see if you can come up with something there.
Okay, well, that's very helpful, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Does anyone else wish to address council at this time? All right. Hearing no other calls for volunteerism, let us then move on. We have our professional reports, we have the engineer, and it is now your time to shine, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you and good evening. First start off with stormwater. The 8th and I'll bring people up to date on that. We have done a one call for location and utilities, and on Monday we are scheduled to drill the road to check the depth of the paving and stone thickness, something we need to do to check structural aspect of the roads. Then after that we can look to see about profiling or shaping the road to direct the stormwater to the inlets that are down at the bottom of Olive Street. At this point, we've replaced one of the existing storm grates with a vented grate. Another grate is on order, and that I'd have to talk to the roadmaster to find out when that will come in. Next is the road resurfacing. I turned in a change order, which I believe is on the agenda for later on for John Suker. He has started and completed his portion of the contract. Tomorrow, excuse me, I'm to receive the parking garage plan specifications and documents. And with that, I will know what we have and be able to start communicating schedule, time, and contracts. One other thing is the project for the relining at 8th and Olive. We closed the contract out this month. We did have one resident who needed to do some punch list items, which we did. When they got completed, we then processed the paperwork to the borough for closeout of that contract.
everyone's satisfied?
I have not heard anything back from any residents, any more complaints, either directly to me through the borough.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any comments, questions?
Sorry.
I asked you, can you give us a status update on the parking garage renovations and repairs?
That's what I said, I'm to receive
Oh,
the
you said
plan
it's on.
specs and everything tomorrow.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I think you said $8.
No, if I did, I apologize I misspoke. It's the parking garage I'm receiving tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for our engineer? Hearing none, we will turn to our solicitor, Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report tonight.
Any questions for our solicitor? Hearing none, we'll then turn to the mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I have two proclamations tonight. I'm going to read them from here because I don't believe anyone's here to receive them. So first is a proclamation on ovarian cancer, and it is called the silent killer because its symptoms are often vague or subtle. Each year, more than 22,000 Americans are diagnosed with the disease, and approximately 16,000 die from it. And the Sandy Roman Ovarian Cancer Foundation is a local nonprofit organization started in memory of Sandy Roman, who passed away from advanced ovarian cancers at the age of 33. And they're raising awareness, and they're advocates of diagnostic testing and more effective treatments. And they're raising funds to advance ovarian cancer research, and wish to remind the public that September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, and therefore the borough resolved support for the Sandy Roman Ovarian Cancer Foundation. The second proclamation is a proclamation on International Day of Peace. I'm going to keep that, Jeff, and present it Saturday at the event on State Street, which I believe begins at 11:30. It was 12 last year, but I think it's 11:30. And it says, whereas the issue of peace embraces the deepest hopes of all peoples and remains humanity's guiding inspiration, and whereas in 1981 the United Nations proclaimed the International Day of Peace be devoted to commemorating and strengthening the ideals of peace both within and among nations and peoples, and whereas there is growing support within our state for the observance of the International Day of Peace, whereas global crisis impel all citizens to work toward converting humanity's noblest aspirations for world peace into a practical reality for future generations. And again, the borough media therefore proclaimed September 21st, 2013 as the International Day of Peace. So again, I'll be presenting that on Saturday.
At 11:30 a.m. where?
It said 11:30, but usually it's at 12. That's why I questioned that. It's Home Street Mall on State Street, right out front.
Thank you.
Monica, were you going to add something? No. Police report, the attached summary for those that want to look. The department handled a total of 790 complaints. A copy and summary is available. There were no reported burglaries during the month. We've had 2 so far this year. And there are a total of 22 traffic details. This is above and beyond the usual traffic details. There were 22 additional traffic details during the month of August. And I am attending a Veterans Convention breakfast tomorrow morning in Gettysburg, and I got to be out of here by 4 something in the morning. So I'm going to take questions now. I will not be here at the end. So I understand it's a 2.5-hour ride, and hopefully my directions are accurate. So,
Does anyone have any questions for the mayor at this time?
Drive safe.
okay, no. I'll do it.
GPS. That doesn't.
No, I don't have GPS, but I understand I only make 3 turns. Off the turnpike, down 15 to Gettysburg, and then somewhere I'll find the road.
All right, let's all wish the mayor well on his Gettysburg address.
That's pretty good. Use GPS for that one.
All right, if there are no questions for the mayor, we'll now turn to council committee reports. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, President Hall. First on my agenda is the business of paying our bills for the month of August. Finance Committee met Tuesday this week, 4 o'clock, as we always do prior to council meeting, and recommends that the borough pay the bills for the month of August, the following amounts. From the general fund, $299,001.69. From the recreation fund, $7,174.34. No funds from liquid fuels fund, $19,224.04 from the capital fund, for a grand total of $325,400.07. So moved.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Not hearing any call for discussion, I will call the question. All those in favor of payment of the borough's bills for the month of August 2013 as outlined by Mr. Davidson, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next up on my agenda this month is what's called the MMO. For those residents who are not familiar with this is what's called the minimum municipal obligation. This is, we have two pension funds, one for our non-uniformed employees, which is everyone essentially who's not in the police force, and then another one for the police force themselves. The state has certain requirements for these pension funds that we have to contribute a certain amount each year to keep them at a level which is adequate, essentially if anyone retires, so they'll have adequate funds there to pay their pensions. So our benefits management group called Malkinhout has made the following recommendations, and I'll therefore make two motions. First, we move that we allocate $163,533 for fiscal year 2014 for the non-uniform employees pension fund.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion been made twice and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Not hearing any call for discussion. Call the question. All those in favor of approving the amount of $163,533 for the 2014 minimum municipal obligation for our non-uniformed employees, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Next up, I'll make a motion to approve a budget item of $551,849 for our uniformed employees for the fiscal year 2014.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded.
That's a motion. I so move.
And it's been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Not hearing any call for discussion. All those in favor of approving the amount of $551,849 for our minimum municipal obligation to uniformed employees for the year 2014, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. In other news, we are entering budget season for the borough coming up the next couple months. In addition, we've had some recent requests from residents to evaluate our back tax collection policy, and I will be discussing that at our next workshop next month, the first Thursday of next month, amongst all of council. We've got some ideas, and we'd love to hear feedback from many residents who have received notices about taxes prior to the year 2011. In addition to that, for finance, we are working on a capital improvement plan. We have an intern named Tahia who is working expertly with all of our different committees and groups within the borough to basically come up with a 5 to 6 year plan for our capital reserve fund, which as of today, or as of this month, stands at about $3 million. So we will be allocating those funds to various projects around the borough, and we will be soliciting feedback amongst residents and all different stakeholders within the community about where that money should be allocated, including council and obviously all of our departments. So that's coming up soon as well, and I encourage anybody who's interested in that kind of interested in those types of allocations to pay attention to obviously these meetings, come to our finance meetings, and also look at our website for any future announcements or surveys. Library news. The library is moving forward with their renovation. They have raised to date, I should say, approximately $1.2 million of their $2.5 million for their renovation project. They are still in desperate need of additional funding. I would recommend anybody in the town who cares deeply about the services the library provides to visit their website, mediauplibrary.org, thank you, sorry. And check out the renovation. They are right now in the phase of hiring engineers, and I believe they're going to be making those decisions next week in their board meeting. Obviously, that's an open meeting and it's welcome to join. But again, you know, I personally contributing to the library, I would hope that any resident who cares deeply about what the library provides will check it out and reach deep in their pocket to see if they can contribute a little bit of money to help. And if everyone contributes a little bit, then the project will be successful. That is about all the news I have. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Davis? Hearing no call for question. Recreation Shade Tree, that traditionally is Mrs. Rose announcement report. She's not in attendance tonight, so we'll move on to Mrs. Simpson, Properties, Economic Development, Fair Trade, and Farmers Market.
Thank you very much. Nothing for legislative action. I will comment that we had put out an RFP for structural engineer to review our buildings, especially the historic buildings, for structural safety. That kind of became more of a priority after what was found at the Meade Elementary School, and we had certainly have buildings that date to the same era. We did receive, I think, 7 responses to the RFP, so the Properties Committee is reviewing those to make a recommendation to Council. I have nothing at this point on the economic development that is a legislative item, but I am thrilled that the season this year has gone really well for Dining Under the Stars. The numbers even last night, on the chilly night, the pictures that were posted really show that this has really become something of a destination point, at least at an odd day of the week, and an ongoing, and it keeps building year to year and spilling over into other events. I want to commend the MBA and the others that put forth all the efforts, because it is a lot of work to do on a weekly basis. Dovetailing that, Fair Trade has been participating with the Wednesday evenings as well. This was a conscientious decision rather than to hold one large event one time a year, to be more engaged on an ongoing basis with the general public and with the residents, so that they can see what things that the Fair Trade Committee is doing and the education that they are providing. Farmers Market, it's not too late to put in your turkey order for free-range organic turkeys to be delivered at the appropriate time, and they're still doing well and opened up through the end of the month. So that's my report for this evening.
Any questions for Mrs. Simpson? I mean, the turkeys don't walk up to your door.
Through the end of this month or through November?
Through November, I'm sorry. I'm already thinking November. That's the turkey on my mind.
All right, well, here we are not in October, and we're already thinking November. That's one of the wonderful things that we as humans have, is the ability to live in the future. I'm glad we're exercising that tonight. All right, so we're now turning to my part of the report. I do not have anything for legislative action, so there's no need for the symbolic passing of the gavel. I do have a number of announcements to make. So, first is October 1st, 2013, so that's the first Tuesday in October. We have our next comprehensive plan task force meeting. That's at 6 p.m., second floor conference room. Public is invited. Please come. Then we had initially scheduled a presentation of a draft plan for the public this upcoming October. That is being pushed off into November. I don't believe we have a settled on a date. Am I correct about that, Mr. Smith? So we're still working on a date for that. That will be an important time for everyone in the public to come forward and see the plan as it is presented. I encourage everyone who has an interest in the future of this town to come out. The date will be announced at our next meeting, I imagine, and probably also will be on the Borough website as soon as we identify that date. The reason why it was pushed off was to accommodate review by council and review by by the planning committee, so that we'd have an opportunity to comment on it before it was presented to the public. So keep that date in mind, first Tuesday in October, 6 p.m. in the conference room. On October 12th, that's the second Saturday in October, is the 7th Annual Media Icons Jury Photo Contest. Those of you who have attended in the past know that we have quite a variety and quite a high level of photographers in and around the area, and they put on some wonderful shows in the past. This year, the show will take place on second Saturday between the hours of 6 and 9 p.m. It is a different location than it has been in the past. It will be at 609 West State Street. That's an odd address for most of us. That is down where West Street meets Baltimore Avenue. If those of you who are familiar with the White Orchid Antiques, which used to be there for a while, it'll be in that building. So others might orient themselves by the doctor's offices. It'll be next door to the doctor's offices. So come on down, 6 to 9 p.m., plenty of parking. You'll see some wonderful photographs, and the awards will be announced at that time. On October 3rd, that'll be the first Thursday in October, we will have a public meeting in this room beginning at 6 p.m. concerning the Wawa proposal. There will be an hour and a half period of time allotted for council to ask questions concerning the project and for council to receive questions or receive comments about the project. So if you have an interest, please come. It'll be the first Thursday in October in this room at 6 p.m. It'll be an hour and a half. Immediately after that, we will start our normally scheduled workshop meeting. We'll keep it in this room so that we don't have to traipse over with all of our books and papers next door. So please come out. There were a number of persons who came out this past September. There were quite a few, and there was a presentation at that time that allowed members of the public to see the proposal for the first time as it passed through our planning commission, and also for council to pass through. Because of the number of persons who were present there that evening, I thought it was prudent to push this off to another date where we can have a chunk of time devoted strictly to that proposal and we can receive comment. So please come if you are at all interested. A few other announcements I have.
Before you mind if I just make a quick correction?
Sure.
I just want to make it for the record, the applicant actually in this particular instance is not the Wawa Corporation, but in fact, Media Real Estate is making an application for this land parcel.
Correct.
So I think just to be fair and accurate, we should call this the Media Real Estate application for 435 West Baltimore Ave. They're suggesting to put a Wawa there, but there's nothing requiring that.
State council.
So Councilman Davidson is correct. The applicant at this point appears to be Media Real Estate. Everything that we've seen so far is a Wawa. I apologize if I was not completely accurate about the nature of the proposal, but I think all of us understand that it's for the Wawa. Okay, so the next announcement I have concerns the 3rd Street issue, the 3rd Street Dam. Just an update. Earlier this week, we received an order from Commonwealth Court where this case currently lives. This case is now in what I will term litigation limbo as a result of the Brumos Lake Country Club filing a legal action. And the case is now with the Commonwealth Court. The Commonwealth Court notified all parties by order earlier this week, or at the end of last week, I apologize, that it wanted briefs by October 2, the first Wednesday in October, on a specific issue, and really that relates to whether or not the appeal was timely filed. So we will await the outcome of that. There will not be anything going on between today and the beginning of October concerning 3rd Street and the ongoing litigation. Related to that, I spoke with Jim Jeffrey earlier today concerning his ongoing efforts as the emergency management coordinator for the Borough Media. And I asked him about the lake level, Brumos Lake level. It is supposed to be kept per the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection at a lower level. According to Mr. Jeffrey, if the lake continues to be kept at a higher level than the DEP has demanded, I'm going to ask this council that we request Mr. Jeffrey to release his photographs documenting this to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. Does anyone have any objection to me requesting that Mr. Jeffrey do so? I will do so. I will do so tomorrow morning. And for those of you at home, the reason why the DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, requires a lowered level on the dam is out of dam safety. Obviously, the more water that the dam holds, the greater the potential that the dam could fail. And the DEP has evaluated this particular dam and would like the water level lowered. Okay. I have an item concerning SEPTA, mass transit. Some of you might have read in the newspaper last week that SEPTA has released what they call a service realignment plan, more commonly known as the Doomsday Plan. And what this plan is a way of trying to face the reality of what happens if SEPTA continues to be underfunded through state resources. At present, there is no money in the budget for SEPTA for 2014. As I understand it, $250 million was put in the budget by the state Senate, $200 million was put in the budget by the state House, and the governor has proposed $180 million. According to SEPTA, $250 million will help it to address its ongoing structural needs. Anything less will not. If they are not funded fully, then SEPTA will begin to discontinue certain routes. And it will look at them in terms of the amount of structural work that needs to be done. Unfortunately, the R3, which services media, is one of the first on the list to be discontinued. And they project that to happen in 2015. SEPTA also projects that the trolleys might be at risk as well. So the Pennsylvania legislature goes back in session, I believe, beginning next week, and the issue of the budget will be at the top of the list, on the top of their to-do list. But it's an open question as to how much they're going to give to mass transit. I think we all agree that mass transit is very important to media, not just to residents who depend upon it to get to their jobs and get back from their jobs, but also to visitors to this town and people who come to this town as the county seat. We are the county seat, and thousands of people come every day by mass transit. Without mass transit, everything falls apart. So, clearly, if this were to happen, this would have a tremendous impact upon media. I am encouraging all residents to contact their state representative, Ms. Tom Killian, their state senator, who is now Senator Erickson, because we are now in the 26th senatorial district, we used to be the 9th. Dominic Pileggi, who used to be our senator, as well as Governor Tom Corbett. Please contact them. Let them know that this is important to you, and that the legislature needs to step up, and the governor needs to step up and fund SEPTA adequately so that the transportation system that we rely upon will be able to continue into the future. I'm also requesting that this council authorize Jeff Smith to draft the letter, subject to our approval, to our state representative, to our state senator, and our former state senator, as well as to Governor Corbett, CC to surrounding communities that are serviced by the R3 line, requesting that the budget address in a comprehensive and meaningful way the needs of SEPTA to maintain its system. We have agreement among council to authorize Mr. Smith to author that letter.
I agree. I think it's premature. I mean, you had referenced communications earlier this week, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed. However, this council hasn't had the proper opportunity to discuss it, as seems to be becoming a tradition here. Things come out on that council night. I can tell you that our mayor has been in contact with all our representatives. They recognize the seriousness of the matter. Representative Killian, I am not sure if still is, but was a member of the board of directors of SEPTA. I think our elected officials, our counterparts, do recognize this as something that's significant. I do think that there could be time when our residents need to communicate to the elected officials, but I think at this time, as we have a process, our state counterparts have a process as well, and I just think this is relatively premature. And again, wish that we had the opportunity, which I thought we were going to have prior to the council meeting tonight, to discuss this, but it appears that that did not happen. So I would just ask that we reconsider this at a later date. Let us communicate with our counterparts at the state level, and if we do not see things moving in a proper direction, then I would agree with Council President 100% that we would need to then communicate to our elected officials. I just think it's premature, and I think we should allow the professional courtesy to our counterparts to attempt to resolve this issue in the state legislature. And if it does not look like it's going in the proper direction, then Brian, I agree with you 100% that a campaign from our residents would be appropriate. I just think we're jumping the gun a tad bit, so I will not vote for that.
Ms. Simpson?
Mr. Robinson, I respect your perspective. I think that if the question is, shall we authorize our manager to write a letter on behalf of council to the entities that Mr. Hall said, I think it's appropriate now with the budget talks beginning next week, and the fact that there are some other really large budget items that are just being brought up by Governor Corbett at this time, including a Pennsylvania health care plan. I think it would be no harm or disrespect to our other elected officials to let them know that we as a community and county seat are seriously concerned about funding to continue the use of septic. So I would have to be in agreement to pen a letter.
Any other comment?
I'm in agreement. I think we should move as quickly as possible on this issue. I think we should send a letter, and I think any resident that feels strongly about this should also send a letter to the representative. We live in a representative government. Tell the people that you elected what you want. So to me, it's that simple. So I see this is what we're supposed to do, and I would not delay in any way.
Can I just ask real quick, Paul, do you think any harm would come with us sending a letter?
No, I don't think it would any harm. I'm just saying that I think that we should be at least allowing our elected officials to try to resolve the matter, without.
Well, I mean, my understanding is the time is of the essence. And I think if a letter is not going to cause any harm, just saying that we support the budget of SEPTA and our community plans on it is not a bad thing. So I am in favor of sending a letter from council.
Mr. President, I'd ask if you would, if I don't know if this is going to be in form of a motion, but I would appreciate if you would amend your motion to reflect signatures of the individual members of council on the letter. So that it's not sent by all of council, but it can be sent by the members of council that feel that it's necessary to send a letter at this point.
Well, how about this, a letter that bears my signature in my capacity as president of council, as well as the mayor's signature. I had spoken to the mayor, and the mayor is in agreement with writing such a letter.
As long as it's referenced by the council president and the mayor, and not all members of council.
Okay, fair enough. I didn't plan on putting this to a vote, but I think it might be useful at this point. All those in favor of authorizing Jeff Smith to write up the letter to be reviewed and signed by me in my capacity as president of council and the mayor concerning the SEPTA funding, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
The motion passes 4-1. Paul, I would agree with you that we could, under other circumstances, it would make sense to sit back and think about this, but the report was released by SEPTA this past Friday, and the legislature will go in session this coming week. There's very, very little time, and frankly, this is just me talking. The legislature has for years underfunded SEPTA. I don't have that level of confidence that they will get together and do the right thing, especially since they went into break this past August without resolving this issue, which we all know is a crucial issue for this region and for many other regions. So I don't have that same level of confidence that they eventually would do the right thing. I think that to the extent they would be proud them to do what I believe is the right thing, that is a good approach to take. Anyway, so let's see. Just have a couple of thank yous. One, I'm not stepping on anybody's toes. Highway Department, wonderful job on striping on State Street. And elsewhere, they put in some stop signs, some stop striping throughout the borough, and I think that looks great. I think it's a helpful addition. Also, to our sanitation workers, for those of you who walk the town on the days of and the day after the Great Media Garage Sale Day, you know that there's an awful lot of stuff out there. And wouldn't you know it, by the next day or 2 days after that, it's all gone. You know, congratulations to those guys for doing such a great job. Jeff, please convey council's gratitude. Had a job well done. Also, a resident asked me to pass along thanks for some work that's been done at 4th and Lemon Streets. I went this evening to check it out, and what he described it has happened. For those of you who've been following council know that for the past month and a half or so, there's been something of a dispute concerning gravel infill parking at the intersection of 4th and Lemon Streets. And for a while, there's some boulders that were placed out there, and the parking was a little bit more scarce than it used to be. But a resident and developer in town, Vince Martini, stepped up to the plate, and as a result of him stepping up to the plate, we now have new gravel out there, and the boulders have been moved. So, fabulous, great job. Last thing, welcome, BD Elementary. Welcome back to your building. It missed you. We missed you. I have not been in the building since it's open, but from parents who've been there, they say it looks fabulous, and the mural looks fabulous, library looks great. Congratulations, job well done, welcome back. That's the end of my report. Any questions, Frank? We'll then turn to Dr. Stein.
Okay, thank you. I have 2 items for legislative action and several announcements. First item is to, we regret to accept the resignation of John Schaefer from the Media Business Authority, who served for several years in that capacity. So I make a motion to accept, and I wanted to say we want to thank him for his service to the community, but due to his time constraints, professional needs, he has to resign. So a motion to accept the resignation of John Schaefer from the Media Business Authority.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
And my only, perhaps we can send a letter of thank you to Mr. Schaefer for his service.
Mr. Smith has agreed to do so. So I'll call the question. All those in favor of accepting the resignation of John Schaefer from the Media Business Authority, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
And I'm also pleased that we have other people who are stepping up, have the opportunity and the time to serve. So I'd like to put forth a motion for the appointment of Harry Havnunian to the Media Business Authority, who was a former member of that body and would like to serve again.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
Harry served before, he did a great job before, and I think he'll be a true asset to the authority as a new old member. So,
And
glad to see him come back.
Paul, I know that this has been a concern of yours. He is one of the owners of the Media Cycle Shop.
Yes. So I think it
It's more
helps
geographic diversity.
It helps, exactly.
Mr. Smith, this is a 3-year or 4-year or 5-year term?
We have some options. Mr. Schaefer, it could either, council could appoint Mr. Havnunian to Mr. Schaefer's unexpired term, which is 12/31/14, or it would be a 3-year full term, which would expire on 12/31/15. So you've got an option there to decide how you want to make the appointment.
Dr. Stein, your thoughts?
Good questions.
Might I suggest that as someone who has served successfully on the MPA in the past, that it makes sense that he have a full term as opposed to an unexpired term?
That's fine with me.
All right, we have a motion then to appoint Harry Havnunian to the MBA for a 3-year term expiring December 31, 2015. Is that right, Jeff? Would it be 26?
Well, we're already in this year, so the 3-year term would expire 12/13 of 15, so,
Okay.
since we're already in September.
A term,
Yeah, terms
Expire
expire at the end of the year,
12/13,
they don't go
Got it.
calendar 3 years.
gotcha. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
And again.
Welcome back.
Welcome. Other members of the business community who would like to serve, please let us know or contact Brian Messick, who's the chair of the president of the MBA, from any of the restaurants, retail, all of the above. So right on State Street or off State Street, all are welcome to serve in that capacity. So we have good representation, and they're always looking for good people to serve in that capacity. So. All right. Next item is and then I'll go to announcements. We're in the process of our first information technology strategic planning effort. We issued an RFP and we selected a vendor for this. So we're in the middle of that process. The way this works is the lead on this, the project lead, is interviewing various stakeholders in the borough, interviewing us, council, interviewing staff. In conjunction with that, we decided that we would create a steering committee for the IT strategic plan, which would be made up of members of the community. So we encourage anyone who's interested in being part of that process. We do have a few volunteers already, but we can use more. Jeff, do you have a number on how many volunteers at this point?
It's totally up to Borough Council.
No, I mean how many have already shown interest?
You'd mentioned one. That's the
I have one that okay. So we do have an opportunity for that. Anyone in the community is eligible to serve. It probably will amount to just a few meetings because this process will be completed sometime in before January and certainly in November, December. So we don't have that much time, but we will have a couple of meetings. We'd love to get your feedback, love to get your input. If you are interested, please contact Mr. Smith at Borough Hall.
Do you mind if I just add something real quick?
Please.
Just in terms of the requirements for that, no technical background actually is needed, although certainly it's not discouraged, but we're really looking for residents who, can at least imagine ways in which technology can improve communications with residents, can improve borough operations, can improve any aspect of your interaction with the borough. So,
Great.
so if you would like to volunteer, we just have a volunteer in the audience here, please send a letter of interest to Mr. Smith. His email address is plastered all over the website. And I'll let you take it over from there. Thank you.
Jeff@borough.com. So, anyone who's interested, regardless of your background, we'd love to have your input and, so please let us know. And the sooner the better because we don't have that much time. Okay, moving right along here. A few announcements for the Environmental Advisory Council. They have received funding to create brochures on recycling that will contain new enforcement rules in the commercial district. They are developing a sidewalk garden prototype plan. They're formulating that. A grant proposal was submitted to do a study on borough stormwater problems. This is, as you know, in this area and the whole region is an issue. And some of the means of trying to contain water, channel waters through rain gardens, bioswales, and other best management practices. The borough is looking into a possibility, provided we have a SEPTA line moving there, but you may or may not know that SEPTA is actually working on a much more sophisticated fare system, one which would allow for what are called micro routes. So, for example, one micro route might be from Bowling Green up to the end of State Street, which would be to our advantage because then you could get on and not pay a full fare. You would pay just a maybe pay a quarter. I mean, I'm making this up, I have no idea what they'll charge us, but at least it would be substantially less than the full fare. So we would like to be one of those communities that SEPTA, maybe pilots or, considers this for. So, and the EAC is taking a role in promoting that. And the Greater Philadelphia Bicycle Alliance has offered to match funds with the borough for the installation of more bike racks here. Okay, and in addition to the bike, Jeff, how many bike racks were just recently installed and the locations? That was at the county, I believe.
Yeah, one at the county. There's a total of 3. One essentially at the end of the trolley tracks. And the final one, I believe, is at in the vicinity of Vet Square, if I'm not mistaken, was the third one. There's a ribbon cutting ceremony.
Ribbon cutting on
October 3rd
October
at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
Oh, we've got a time now.
Yes, 2 p.m. October 3rd, and that was compliments of the Delaware County Transportation Management Authority, DCTMA, and also I believe the Media Rotary was involved.
Yeah, we want to thank them for their initiative on this, and we'll see if we can get some more. And so ride your bike over on October 3rd and join the ribbon cutting. Just an update too. We did solar monitors have been installed in the 2 buildings. We getting those just about up and running. We're also trying to work out a plan for the outreach. So that's an ongoing project with the EAC, outreach of to the schools and other entities, so they can see how the kinds of renewable energy that's being generated, how much we're reducing our carbon footprint, and how many trees we're saving by actually using solar energy on some of our buildings. So so it's designed to become a learning tool with the schools. We're working on that. We're almost there. We'll have an announcement soon on that. Okay, a few more announcements from the business sector. The sidewalk sale was a success. Very busy day we just had. I've been told that media shopping bags are on order. Media souvenirs are available through Hallmark, the local home and gifts store on State Street and Puffin Rugs on Baltimore Avenue. Of course, as you know, we're just finishing up a very successful Dining Under the Stars season. Again, I want to thank all the participating restaurants, and also the NBA and the restaurants want to thank Borough Council, the highway, the police, the retailers, and all the visitors and residents who made this another great, successful year. The next major event is the CAC Fine Arts Festival. That's on September 28th. The event after that will be the Food Fest coming up on October 6th. Let's see here. Oh, and as you know, that the NBA would like to thank the council and actually the public works folks that are now providing some sidewalk cleaning on Saturdays. Jeff, do you have any further updates on that? But there's an improvement. It looks great. We appreciate the work they're doing, and I think it's been a win-win all around. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, just Saturday mornings, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., and they'll be doing it every Saturday. So,
yeah.
Ralph has gotten the guys, and they're out there every Saturday. So if you have any feedback or any concerns, just let us know. We'll certainly follow up on it.
Well, on behalf of the NBA was saying they appreciate it and noticed the improvement, and it looks, from what I've seen, it looks clear to me. So again, I want to thank those guys for doing that. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Eric. Any questions for Dr. Stein at this time?
Doctor, any more information regarding the energy parking spot? How we've done on usage?
Good question. Do we have those records, Jeff? Any further records on that?
No, I
have to get that from probably the go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say, last time, I guess maybe early summer, late spring, I had sent out some numbers are pretty low, so I can follow back up and see if it's picked up at all, or see if they've got some recommendations on maybe doing round 2 of a PR campaign. Maybe that might help a little bit.
That would be great. For those of you who don't know, behind the firehouse, we have a reserve spot. If you drive an electric or hybrid vehicle, you can plug your car in media. So
An electric hybrid,
an electric,
not the kind that,
what kind do that?
the kind that doesn't get electricity.
Okay, it has to be a portion of electric hybrid, yes. So if you drive a Tesla, we invite you to come down because we'd like to see your Tesla.
Certainly would.
Or any other electric vehicle. So there's a spot that's reserved just for electric vehicles behind the firehouse, and we encourage those people who have them to come on down.
Any other questions for Dr. Stein? We'll then move to Councilwoman Horrocks' report, Health and Historic.
Thank you, Mr. President. I only have one item for action this evening, and that is going to be in the form of a motion for the resignation of Joe Ferrante from the Board of Health due to his job description. He's not going to be able to dedicate the time that he has in the past. So I make a motion that we accept his resignation.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? We'll call the question. All those in favor of accepting the resignation of Joe Ferrante from the Board of Health, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
At this time, I'd also like it if we could approve for Jeff Smith, the Borough Manager, to authorize him to advertise this position for the Board of Health. I believe the criteria has to be someone who has to have a health background.
Second.
Position.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor of authorizing our manager to advertise an opening on the Board of Health, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
And I have nothing else under health this evening, as they have not met just yet. October will be their 4th quarter meeting. And the Historical Society just met last Monday, and so we really have nothing to report since they just reconvened after being off for a couple months in the summer. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilwoman Warren?
No, I think we should send a note of appreciation to Mr. Ferrante for his volunteering, serving that position.
Excellent. Mr. Smith? Sure. All right. We'll then move on to Councilman Robinson's report, Public Safety, Public Works, Infrastructure, and Fire.
Good evening, and since I'm the only thing between us and the Eagles game, I will do announcements. I'll just stick with legislative process tonight. First on the agenda is the referencing of a Civil Service Commission to create a sergeant's list. The way our police department is set up is we have officers, we have platoons that are supervised by a sergeant, and then we have a lieutenant and a chief. One of the sergeants has recently retired due to disability reasons, and with that there will be a need for a new sergeant. What really occurs with that is I'll at one point make a motion that we authorize our Civil Service Commission to create a sergeant's list, and really what that comprises of is will be a written report or a written test for sergeant, and oral exam that is usually done by other chiefs of police in the community. And so with that, I will make a motion that we authorize our Civil Service Commission to create a sergeant's list.
Second.
There's a motion been made. It's been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? I'll call the question. All those in favor of authorizing our Civil Service Commission to create a sergeant's list, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Second on the agenda is a mass gathering permit. I would normally leave this up to the mayor, but since he is not here, this is for our Veterans Legacy Project, better known as our Veterans Day Parade, which will be November 11th at 11 o'clock. This usually starts. As we all know, it's probably the biggest parade that media has. It is probably one of the largest parades in Pennsylvania. And as the mayor will tell you, he is doing his best, as he always does, to get a outstanding grand marshal. So I make a motion that we approve the request from Veterans Legacy Project for a mass gathering permit for the Delaware County Veterans Parade.
Second.
Motion's been made, it's been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of granting the mass gathering permit application for the Veterans Legacy Project as our Veterans Day Parade, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
And third on the agenda is referencing, as our engineer brought up earlier, a change order to our resurfacing project. When we started to pave State Street, we recognized that would be in our best interest if we paved a section of the north-south roads that connect to State Street. So we had a change order to pave, and I don't know the exact distance, but I'm going to sit there and say a half a block north-south for Veterans Square, Orange Street, Jackson Street, and Monroe Street. Total cost of the change order was $7,518, and I would make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion is made, it's been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? I'll call the question. All those in favor of ratifying the change order as described by Councilman Robinson with regard to roads resurfacing, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Next on the agenda is the hiring of a part-time police officer. I wanted to try to bring this up at caucus, but was not aware of this at that time. However, let me explain before I make a motion. What this really is that we have currently 3 part-time officers that we use for fill-ins. What will occur is if a full-time officer is not able to make his or her shift, the chief or lieutenant would contact one of the 3 part-time officers to see if they could come in and fill that shift. What is occurring is the 3 part-time officers that we currently have also have other part-time jobs as police officers. So it's not uncommon to make the call asking one of our part-timers to come in and they're not able to. And therefore we are short an officer in a platoon. Only thing this would be doing would be adding a 4th person that would be eligible to be contacted to come in and to be used to fill in when a full-time officer is unable to make their shift. So it's not like we're adding more people, it's just adding one more person that we're able to contact if in fact we would need a officer or a fill-in for a full-time officer. So it's a per diem, it's a by day situation. It's really nothing more, no difference in really our budget. So with that, I make a motion that we approve the hiring of a part-time officer. The officer that the chief has recommended is an individual by the name of Francis Bruder. He is currently a part-time officer with the Brookhaven Borough Police Department since 2008. He is a graduate of the Police Academy in 2007 and has his associate's degree in applied science from Delaware County Community College. And I make that in the form of a motion, Mr. President.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? I'll call the question. All. Sure.
Can this wait till next month so we can discuss the workshop? I just feel like this is just being thrown in front of us tonight, first time, and I'd like a chance to discuss it in caucus, as often as requested by other council members. So I would like to ask to table the motion.
All right, well, there's a motion to...
I'll move to table, sorry.
Okay, there's a motion to table Councilman Robinson's motion. Is there a second on the motion to table?
We can discuss.
Well, there's as a point of procedure, if there's no second, then the motion to table fails, and we're now back to the original motion. Any other discussion?
Well, what is is this an immediate
I would say that it
filled,
would be, yes, it is immediate, due to the fact that we right now have one officer that is out for several weeks on, related injury that occurred on duty. So that is actually under the heart lung. We have an officer that is on light duty due to injury off duty. And we have an officer that is 6 or 7 months pregnant. So with the Department of 12, right now we have 3 down. And we are doing, we're using our lieutenant and our chief on the street. And once again, this isn't really adding anybody, it's just adding an extra person to pick up the phone. So we would be, if our current staff of part-timers of 3 were available, they would come in. This is just saying if they're not, we bring this one other person. So it's just adding more opportunity to get a part-timer in. So again, it's not going to change budget numbers.
So it's adding to the existing 3?
The call list.
The call list, that's all it is. It's a call list.
Should control overtime costs.
Exactly.
Because if your 3 are filled up, you then go to full-timers and pay them overtime.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we just got this,
Is there
so
any
we're
financial-
just,
There's no financial increase in any fund.
This is just adding one more person to call.
to the call list, yeah. Okay.
So like, to
That's-
give you an example, to give an example, let's say if someone had to call out
He's been
tonight.
approved by the chief. Did the Civil Service,
Pardon me?
did the Civil Service Commission interview him as well?
Civil Service Commission has never
It's only
interviewed
for
part-timers.
promotions only.
Is it by appointment only?
That's a point, it's truly a part-time position as any part-time position.
Okay, that's
So
fine.
you would just be a 4th person to call if the top 3 can't make it.
Well,
There's no contract, there's no union, it's just
No,
at will.
it's an at-will per diem.
I would just say in the future, it'd be nice to have a little bit more advanced notice.
I wouldn't disagree, but it's not the first time that something's come up at the table.
Absolutely, but I
without being
think
discussed
we
in
agree
Congress.
that it's nice to not be surprised at council legislative session.
All right, we still have a motion that has been seconded, it's pending, I'll call the question. All those who favor hiring of Francis Bruder as a part-time police officer, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
I will advise the mayor, and he will swear in this individual as soon as possible. Last on the list is a request for a handicap parking permit at 36 West 7th Street. The individual does have off-street parking, but has stated that it is actually easier for this individual to use on-street parking. I have looked at it, other people have looked at the area, there is ample on-street parking, so I'm not sure if there is a demand, but I don't think it would hinder the neighborhood if we provided a handicap spot for this individual. So I would make a motion that we approve the handicap parking spot for 36 West 7th Street.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second?
Any discussion on the motion? I'll call the question. Those in favor of approving the request for handicap parking permit for the resident 36 West 7th Street, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Concludes my report.
Let me just add something of a caveat to that, because I agree with you, Paul. I've been out there, I'm familiar with that street, and I was out there again today. And I don't think there's that much competition for parking spots. I don't want this to become some type of precedent for, I want us to be mindful of the potential that this might set a precedent.
I look at it a little bit differently. I do agree with you, other than, in a place where there is ample parking, the only thing this does is kind of make sure that there is a spot in front. I mean, there's always plenty of places to park, but if you need a handicap spot and someone's out in front of your house, kind of defeats the purpose of having a handicap.
There are two ways of looking at
They gotta
it.
hike down the street.
There are no reserved spots. It's a handicap parking spot, so anybody who's handicapped can park
Correct.
there. It's not
Correct.
reserved for
Correct.
residents. Just make that clear.
All right. Any questions for Councilman Robbins? Hearing none, we'll then move on to our second installment of public comment and privilege of the floor. Does anyone wish to come before council at this time? Please come to the microphone, identify yourself by name and address. No takers? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, wait, before we, I forgot, the mayor did not mention 911.
Since the mayor
Take it
stepped
away.
out, and I know he'll watch this, Mr. Mayor, you really messed up tonight. You really should have talked about 911. If there is an emergency, please, our only way to contact our police department is 911. Any type of situation, feel free, our police officers are there for you. Even our part-time police officers will be there for you. Thank you very much, and go Birds.
Thank you. All right, we are now adjourned.